Hi. Okay, so for this assignment, I'm going to kind of go through it really quickly because I only have 5 minutes on Screencastify. So I'm going to talk about how I would do this lesson with children virtually on Zoom and just kind of walk through it very quickly. So initially, I would start out with a greeting to everybody. I would greet each child by name, thank them for being there, their participation matters, things like that. We would go into our good morning song, which would have a link here, and that link would pop up here. We would sing through our song. At the end, we would say that we're ready to start and that we're focused, and I would ask them to show me what focus looks like when we're sitting in our chair. We have our hands crossed, eyes looking at the speaker, and we would continue into our lesson. So I'd tell them, today we're going to be learning about pumpkins. We're reading about them. We're going to be exploring their parts. We're going to be kind of going into some science along with it and what helps them to grow. So we would read this story, which is how many seeds are in a pumpkin, which would pop up here. I would ask them stories about the author, the characters, the setting. We will get into what would happen next, what just happened, how do you think the characters are feeling, just to get those checks for understanding. And they would answer by raising a hand. And then we would go into our vocabulary, which I have a drag and drop here, where we talk about the seeds and planting and how the planting that we're doing is a verb. It's not the actual plant. We would talk about the vine and maybe what the vine feels like, how it's kind of prickly. We would talk about the sprout, and we would talk about the initial sounds for each of these words. Next, we would go into a whiteboard section where we would write our words 3 times each, just like I have here. And then if there's time, I would have them draw a picture of each of the words as well, just to kind of go along with that. Each time we would write it, we would pause, we would show it to me, and then we would keep going to make sure that participation is there from everybody. Next, we would go into, this would have been my anchor chart, but I would be typing in these words for them. What is the inside of a pumpkin like? I would give them some time to think about it. Words that I've typically heard before are words like wet, slimy, cold, stinky, gross, squishy, smelly, maybe. And this would be a kind of a moment to connect back to our prior knowledge. And then we would sing our song. We would get up and dance and sing our song about how pumpkins grow. This song goes through the growth process and the cycle, which we will then be writing about next. So next here we have, this is a paper that they would have at home that they would be able to fill out via Kami or paper and pencil right there, and their parents could scan it and send it to me when they're done for participation. So how this would work is we would kind of brainstorm here about the life cycle of a pumpkin. We would talk about what happens first using these pictures, and then I would ask the students to help me put this into a sentence. What would that sound like in a complete thought? And then we would talk about how it has the capital letter at the beginning, what kind of punctuation comes at the end. So first, obviously, we'd start with seeds like this. We'd say, first we plant the seeds. Those are the words that we would use. I would type them out here, and they would copy it on their board or on their paper, and they would show it to me before we move on. Next, it would be, well, what happens after that? It sprouts. So we would say next, maybe an example would be next, the seed sprouts. Finally, then we would move into, well, what happens after it sprouts? Well, something happens amazingly with this. It goes from this kind of small little, sprout into this longer vine. We would say, then the sprout becomes a vine. After that, the vine grows a flower. Then the flower turns into the green pumpkin. And finally, it grows into the orange pumpkin. And I would have them help me with that. After we're all done, I would maybe give a chance to do breakout rooms and have the students read their paragraph to peers, and I would be hopping around to make sure that everybody's on the right place. I would make sure that they knew my expectations for that. And then we would talk about our homework. So our homework here is this plant life cycle brain pop that has a quiz, and it has a story to read, and then that data would be sent back to me via brain pop. And then we would give our salutations, say thank you, and we would be done for the time for the lesson. So that's how I would do it. I apologize that I only have a few minutes here on Screencastify to talk about this, but that is how I would do my lesson. I have done these before, so I'm very excited about it, and this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share like this. Bye.